Let's talk about something almost nobody explains properly. Why your man seems to want you constantly, like it's switched on every single day, no matter what else is going on in his life. And before you roll your eyes and assume I'm about to tell you it's because men are simple creatures running on instinct, let me stop you right there. That's not it. It's not that he sees you as an object. It's not that he's incapable of respect. It's not even close to either of those tired explanations. What's actually happening is biological, and once you understand it, you'll never look at his desire the same way again. Here's the foundation. A man's body produces somewhere between 10 and 20 times more testosterone than yours does. Sit with that number for a second because it's not a minor difference. It's practically a different hormonal universe. And testosterone isn't some narrow little switch that only controls sex drive. It's the same chemical fuel behind his drive to achieve, his competitive streak, his protective instincts, and his urge to provide for the people he loves. All of that runs through one single engine. The hormone pushing him to close a deal at work is the exact same hormone making him want to keep you safe, build something with you, and yes, want you physically. You cannot pull these apart. They're fused together. Think about your own body for a moment. You know that stretch before your period, the luteal phase, where your energy tanks, your mood shifts, and your body just wants to curl up and rest? You don't choose that. It happens to you regardless of what you'd prefer. Well, men experience something parallel, except it runs in the opposite direction. Instead of pulling him inward and making him want solitude, his hormonal rhythm pushes him outward, toward connection, toward you, toward pursuit. And here's the key difference. Your hormones move in cycles. Some weeks you feel sensual and open, other weeks you feel completely shut off, and that's entirely normal for your body. Men don't get that ebb and flow. Their testosterone holds at a steady, near constant level day in and day out, which means his desire doesn't take a week off just because life got complicated. In fact, and this is the part that surprises most women, stress doesn't lower his drive, it raises it. Sex is one of the primary tools his nervous system uses to regulate itself and come back to baseline. So picture this scenario. He's had a brutal day. Difficult client, a boss who chewed him out, a plan that fell apart. He walks through the door and reaches for you. Your gut reaction might be that he's being inconsiderate, that he's ignoring how exhausted or overwhelmed you are. But flip that thought completely. He's not reaching for you despite the hard day. He's reaching for you because of it. You are literally the mechanism through which he resets himself. And when you turn that away, you're not just declining sex, you're cutting off his reset button. Now, if your honest answer in that moment is not tonight or make it quick, that's fair. Life happens. But understand something important. He doesn't just shrug that off and move on. What you experience as a small, forgettable moment lands on him as a real blow to his ego, to his nervous system, to the part of him that needs to feel wanted. And from there, he quietly retreats. Not loudly, not dramatically, just away. This is where I need you to really absorb something, because most women process rejection the way women process most pain. We talk about it, we cry, we work through it with a friend, we eventually move on. That's a deeply feminine response. Men are wired completely differently. When a man gets turned down by his own partner, especially if it happens repeatedly or dismissively, it doesn't just sting in the moment. It cuts at the foundation of his masculine identity, his sense of being desired, his sense of being enough, his sense of himself as a man. And he will almost never say that out loud. He's not going to sit you down and say, "When you brushed me off last night, I felt unwanted and it really hurt." That's just not how most men are built to communicate. Instead, he goes quiet. He stops initiating. He starts drifting somewhere you can't quite reach. And here's the hard truth. That drift didn't come out of nowhere. It came from somewhere. Let me walk you through a pattern I've seen play out over and over, because I guarantee some part of it will feel familiar. A couple starts out with great chemistry, consistent intimacy, real connection. Then life accelerates. Kids arrive, careers get demanding, stress piles up. The woman naturally starts initiating less, not out of malice, but because she's emotionally tapped out. He reaches for her at night. She says no. Sometimes she doesn't even say anything. She just turns over and goes to sleep. This repeats again and again. Eventually, he simply stops reaching. He stops trying. He checks out emotionally, quietly, without announcing it. She notices the distance and chalks it up to him being tired or stressed from work. So she pulls back even further to give him space. Now, neither of them is initiating anything, not conversation, not touch, not connection of any kind. And she starts wondering, genuinely confused, why he stopped pursuing her. Can you see how the story doesn't actually add up the way she thinks it does? Of course he stopped pursuing. He got tired of being turned away. But she frames it as a communication problem, when the real issue took root months earlier, in a string of small, unremarkable moments that quietly chipped away at his confidence and sense of being wanted. Here's the distinction I need you to hold on to. Men can absolutely handle hearing no. What actually breaks them down slowly and silently is feeling like you no longer want him at all, like his desire for you has become something to manage, tolerate, or apologize for instead of something to be met and celebrated. There's an enormous difference between saying, I'm exhausted tonight, but I want you to know I still want you, and just rolling over in silence. Technically, both are a no, but one keeps the connection alive. The other one slowly extinguishes it. Let me give you two real examples to make this land. The first, a woman came to me convinced her husband had become emotionally unavailable. He'd stopped planning dates, stopped reaching for her hand, stopped being affectionate in any small way. She assumed he was depressed or maybe checked out of the marriage altogether. When I asked about their intimate life, the picture cleared up fast. She rattled off every legitimate reason she'd been too tired, too stressed, too drained by the kids to be physically present with him. And those reasons were real. I'm not dismissing them. But not once, in all of that explaining, had she considered how he felt on the other side of it. The entire framing was about her experience, her exhaustion, her needs. Him? Barely a thought. The second example is my own life, and it's the flip side of the coin. I go through my luteal phase like every woman does, and I know exactly when my desire bottoms out. I want nothing to do with sex during that stretch. A few days ago, I told my husband directly, it's been a little while since you've gotten any attention. I'm just not in the mood right now, but if you need release, tell me and I'll take care of you. He laughed, smiled, and said, I know, baby. I'll let you know when I really need it. That's it. That's the whole exchange. No tension, no guilt, no silent rejection, just awareness and honest communication. Actually caring about your partner's experience instead of making the entire dynamic revolve around your own. So here's where this all lands, and you might want to write this part down. If you want a partner who shows up devoted, present, protective, driven, and emotionally available, you need to understand what actually fuels that version of him. One of the most powerful sources of that fuel is feeling genuinely desired and chosen by you. Not a polite, dutiful kind of desire. Not sex offered out of obligation. I'm talking about real, raw, unmistakably genuine wanting. When a man feels that kind of desire from his partner, when he knows she's choosing him, drawn to him, attracted to him, it doesn't just affect your physical relationship. It ripples into everything: his confidence, his energy, his ambition, the way he carries himself when he walks into a room, the way he shows up for you in every other area of life. The same way you crave deep emotional connection. He craves physical closeness and being wanted. Both are valid. Both matter equally. Now, let's get practical, because understanding the why doesn't help much without the how. First, get honest with yourself about whether your partner actually feels desired in your relationship, not whether you love him, because those are two entirely different questions. You can love someone completely and still rarely make them feel wanted physically. So ask yourself plainly, When was the last time I initiated something? When was the last time I made him feel genuinely pursued? Second, pay attention to how you say no, because sometimes no is the honest answer, and that's completely fine. What matters is the delivery. I'm exhausted tonight, but I want you to know I want you lands in a completely different place than a flat, not tonight, or worse, total silence. Even when the answer is no, make sure the underlying message stays the same. You are still wanted here. Third, and this one might be the most important initiate, actually do it. Men spend an enormous amount of energy carrying the weight of pursuit almost constantly in nearly every relationship. There are very few things with as much impact as a woman choosing to pursue her own man. It doesn't need to be elaborate. A flirty text in the middle of his workday, a look across the room that says exactly what it means. Being the one to reach first for once. It really isn't difficult to make a man feel wanted. So do it. That single shift can change the entire dynamic of your relationship. Fourth, have the real conversation, but choose your moment wisely, not in the middle of an argument, not late at night after you've already said no and the tension is thick in the room. Pick a calm, low-stakes moment. Talk openly about what's been happening between you. Tell him what you need. Ask what he needs. Build something together instead of sitting on opposite sides of the room, both silently wondering what went wrong. Communicate. Actually communicate. Fifth, understand that this isn't a problem you solve once and move on from. It's ongoing maintenance. Intimacy in a relationship works the same way your physical health does. Skip it long enough and the damage compounds. This isn't something you do once and check off a list. It's something you tend to regularly, weekly, or at the very least monthly, because it's a living, breathing part of what you and your partner are building together. Stop feeding it, and eventually it dies. I'm not exaggerating for effect. I hear this exact complaint constantly. My wife stopped wanting me. My husband stopped desiring me. 10 years go by, 15, and people are left standing there wondering what happened with no idea how to fix it. Honestly, I'm tired of hearing that story on repeat because the fix starts with actually doing something differently today. If you want a relationship that actually holds together over time, you have to learn to see your partner as a whole person, not just the convenient, simplified version of him that fits neatly into your day, but the real, complete human being he is, shaped by biology and emotion in equal measure. That's what real love looks like in practice. Love isn't a feeling you passively carry around. It's something you do. It's a verb, not a noun. If any of this resonated with you, Sophia, you already know what to do. Share it with the people in your life who need to hear it. Send it to a friend who's been stuck in this same cycle. Sometimes the smallest shift in understanding is the thing that turns an entire relationship around. And if you're someone who's ready to go even deeper than this, not just patching up one part of your relationship, but building a stronger, more grounded version of yourself across every area of your life, that's the kind of work worth investing in. The women who actually transform their relationships aren't the ones who read one article and hope things magically shift. They're the ones who keep showing up, keep learning, keep doing the unglamorous work of understanding themselves and their partner more honestly with each passing week. Because here's the truth nobody tells you up front. None of this, the testosterone, the rejection cycles, the slow drift apart, happens because either of you is broken. It happens because most of us were never actually taught how male and female biology and emotional wiring genuinely work side by side in a real partnership. Nobody sat you down and explained that his constant desire isn't selfishness. It's chemistry layered with vulnerability. Nobody told you that the moment you roll over in silence might land on him far harder than you'd ever guess. And on his side, nobody taught him how to put words to what he's feeling instead of just going quiet and disappearing inward. That's exactly why this conversation matters so much. Not because one of you is doing something wrong, but because understanding closes the gap that silence and assumption keep widening. So here's my honest challenge to you, Sophia, and to anyone reading this who recognizes even a sliver of themselves in what's been said. Don't let this be information you nod along to and then forget by tomorrow. Pick one thing, just one, from everything covered here and actually put it into practice this week. Maybe that's initiating once, even in a small way. Maybe it's changing how you phrase your next "not tonight" so the underlying message stays warm instead of distant. Maybe it's simply sitting down with him in a calm moment and asking, honestly, how he's been feeling about this part of your relationship lately. Small, consistent shifts are what actually rebuild connection, not grand gestures, not one big dramatic conversation that fixes everything overnight. Relationships don't fall apart in one moment. They erode slowly in 100 tiny instances that feel insignificant in isolation, but add up to real distance over time. The good news is that the reverse is just as true. Connection doesn't get rebuilt in one grand gesture either. It gets rebuilt the same way it eroded, one small, intentional moment at a time. A reach instead of a retreat. I want you to know I still want you instead of silence. A text in the middle of the day that says you are thinking about him. These things feel small in the moment, but they're the actual bricks that build or rebuild a relationship that lasts. And remember this above everything else. Wanting your partner and letting him know it clearly and consistently isn't something extra you do for him as a favor. It's not a chore on top of an already exhausting list of responsibilities. It is in itself one of the deepest forms of love and respect you can offer another human being. The message that says, out of everyone in the world, I choose you, I see you, and I want you. That message changes people. It changes how they show up in a relationship, how they show up at work, how they carry themselves through the world. You have more power in this than you probably realize. And that power isn't about performing for him or losing yourself in the process. It's about genuinely seeing him, the whole of him, and letting him know that what you see, you want. That's the real work, not perfection, not constant availability, not pretending you're never tired or overwhelmed. Just honesty, awareness, and the willingness to keep choosing connection even on the days it would be easier not to. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. Send it to a friend stuck in this same pattern. Post it where the people in your life will see it. Talk about it with your partner if you feel ready to. Conversations like this one are exactly the kind that quietly change relationships for the better, simply because someone finally said the thing everyone's been thinking, but nobody's been saying out loud.